I'm Svante Schubert. I'm chair, we are two chairs, Patrick Russo and me from the ODFTC. But likely I'm the chair because Regina doesn't want to do. She doesn't want any title, but she does most of the work, yes. So, I started in '99 with LibreOffice and worked on the standards, did a lot of standards, and after a while I realized maybe I should do something else because I need some, as I'm a freelancer now, after Sun was bought by Oracle, and Oracle dismissed the whole LibreOffice site, and then I worked on Open Exchange with web offices. But now I'm paid by the European Commission to work on electronic invoices, which are in XML. It's the same stuff, the same technology here. And it's funny that there are so many similarities and differences. So I try to make it a little bit more embracing. And without further ado, I start with some basics. So what is a standard? Why do we need a standard? It's like a cooking recipe, a blueprint if we build a house. And like a recipe, you want to give it a friend, and the cake should taste the same way. And even more, in the technology thing, we had, other examples. For me, the DIN A4 paper is one of the most success. It works with all printers. Okay, US has the page format, but the nice thing on standards is there's so many ones, you can choose one. But it works to have interoperability. You can choose it everywhere, there's no lock-in, and even more, you should have test and validations there, and standards are changing as well. We are moving on to, away from the standardization of paper, which should never change, to software, which is living, which needs security fixing, technology changes and needs updates. So it's no longer blueprint that's unchangeable. It's come a bit paradox. So, and one thing often also changed now is often it's being published in PDF. I call it digital stone. And what you don't want, and which is happening now at the invoice standard, you've got 400 pages of tables, which the software developer has to copy paste for its software, which is ridiculous, right? So I wrote an extraction to get it in a structured format because that's what you need. So what we need is to move over from the old paper world into the world of digitalization, some more machine-readable automation. So now what I learned from the invoice world as well, what is digitalization, okay? Think of an invoice. If I have data, I throw it over the digital fence to you, and at any given time, you can accept it, you can work with the data, without human interaction or bilateral agreement, meaning I phone you, oh, by the way, this is there, this is that. That's what Edifact usually does, some electronic invoice, which all the world like automotive and so use, but I don't want the detail. All I'm saying, we want to have structured data, which is easy to use, and we need automation, automate everything. So even the standard, a software standard, should not be 500 pages, it should be generate as much software as possible, yes? And I might tell you tomorrow, but I realized as well for validation rules, even the legal text, we should get away from paper to something where it can have structure from. So again, validation rules for VAT, I need the law to read out, to validate what's required by the law. Everything that's related to software should be accessible in a structured format for automation, okay? That's it for the basics. What is SEN? Okay. Okay, standardization. Some say call it the evil empire. It's European has a standardization law. Every European standard have to be a SEN standard. Okay, and SEN are the member states. There are some trade association. There are a couple of states. You can read it. We don't get into detail, I don't want to bore you. And this is very complex, but it took me a while to understand. I will show you. It's like if there's a test, you have it in your pocket and look at the table afterwards. So what you have is, can I point here? Is that pointing? Oh no, it's, medic. Okay, first of all, Europe demands that every standard is such a SEN standard, right? There's an EU regulation that requires that I go to my national standardization body, which is DIN, we mentioned DIN A4. I pay them 400 euro, usual company, because I'm a freelancer. Usual companies are, can you move this away? Sorry, I didn't mention that. I thought it was a pointer and it was a mouse, sorry. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry for inconvenience. So, we have these, it's like a pillow here. If it's not telecommunication, electronic injuries like office formats or electronic invoices, we're the middle pillow. The national bodies, meaning every country in Europe or within worldwide, have some national standardization body, which is NEN for Netherlands, which are paying me now, and DIN for Germany, AFNOR for France, and so on, right? And you have to pay them that you're allowed to work on the standard, all right? And after that, they are selling the standard. And, make it best, by law, you have to choose them. There's some kind of monopoly, okay? And this is a closed standard because they're selling it. I cannot tell you anything about this standard. Even Italy sued someone about the electronic invoice standard when they stated that. We said the law that should not be mentioned. But it's crazy, it's horrible. Some say it's broken and should be fixed. And my previous narrator said, yeah, I know it's broken, but you got to live with it. It's too complicated to fix it yet. I don't think so. We should fix it somehow. But anyway, how to circumvent this problem is what we are doing at Oasis, which is outside, it's open, everything is open there. We create it there, and afterwards we throw it over the fence and we give it to ISO, yes? And that's the way you should do it, all right? Sorry if it's getting confusing. You can ask me later and I can try to explain more again tomorrow, a bit more fresh. So what's happened now, you can buy the standard for €216 as paper at the ISO site, okay? Of course, I don't press the button now. You can download it as a PDF, and I can sell it to you half price if you like, for paper. No, honestly, it's crazy. It's really crazy. And there's no change than editorial changes, right? And it's just the way it works for them. Or, yeah, I'm not sure. All right, so summarization. Why do we need it? The ISO standard is something like the queen of standards. There are laws that a government has to use it, right? They can put a standard to be usable by law. Great Britain did it, demands the use of ODF. Some say they just did it to lower the price for Microsoft Office. In any case, it's fine, because for some reason we have Microsoft in the TC, and they're helping us a lot, and it's a valuable member of the TC, I must admit. And they even now released ODF 1.4 with the new Microsoft Office 365, because their release dates before it's been a full standard, right? And that's what the trick is. Something called a fast path, what I called, we throw it over the fence, we have it open, and then make it later, put the label or the stamp ISO on it, and let them sell the paper. But we have the best of two worlds. But the work is really done by Oasis and the TC at the level. Okay, and the ODTC is, as I said, of Oasis, called now Oasis Open, and ODF, meaning an open document format, has in its charter the reason for it to maintain the format for Office applications and to adapt it to the new challenge and formats to make it XML-based, the syntax, and for extra change and collaboration. Basically and another way of thinking about it is you load the document and you edit it and you shock frozen it to the hard disk or USB stick, okay? But still, we are working on some document level, which is also something we might want to change. So what's the state? We delivered ODF 1 quite a while. It's now in the ISO phase somewhere. They are voting on it. And we are after the public review phase of ODF 1 committee specification. We have different specifications. I'll give you quite a quick overview. So usually we have an issue tracker, JIRA we call it. And if it's fixed, we have a working draft, yes? If you want to give a command, there's a mailing list and public mailing list, Office command, where you can write any of course you can talk to us, but where you should give any issue or comment to it, yes? And then we will, from this, an issue will be created. And I also discussed this morning that we need to be faster, like having a fast track. If one of you, ODF application, wants to implement a new ODF feature, we should instantly talk about it, put it as fast as possible into the specification, discuss it when it's have to be implemented, and not a year later or two, like it's been done in the past. All right, so after working draft, we have a public review phase, and it's becoming a committee specification public review draft, gosh. And I think it's 30 days. Was it 30 days? Yes. And then we have another specification public review, and it's becoming committee specification, which is the last thing that the ODFTC itself can do. And finally, when their statement of uses, like LibreOffice has still to give, I believe, their statement of use of ODF 1.4, the conformance clause must be fulfilled, and then it can become an OASIS standard. And in the end, we give it to ISO, so it gets like aristocratic something, yes? All right, who are we? We are 6 members, and with Regina, Michael, and me, we are half of the TC is here. Patrick Andreas Gulso, Professor Andreas Gulso, who worked for Economic, left earlier last year. And we have 2 chairs. I'm more the deputy, jumped in, and as I'm a software developer, I would love to do, my theme is this generation part, yes? Another thing is to abstract a little more from the syntax to go semantic level. I'll show a little later. And we have Michael Stahl, who is working on the writer and has, with Regina, a lot of experience in the technical layer of LibreOffice. And Alfred Hellstern, he's from Microsoft. And Francis Cave and Patrick are the official editors and also being paid because it's a lot of work. And Francis is also the editor from OXML, as far as I know, yes, and the lead of the ISO TC for all the Office stuff. He's very professional from Great Britain, also a very value-add addition to our OASIS TC. So why does it take so long? Some might say, yeah, we have a lack of active members. Of course, if we have double the members and everybody put time in it, we could be faster. But it's also, we still have to discuss it. It's every topic needs to be discussed if there's not fast agreement. And sometimes we even have complicated issues which take our time. The public review periods take their time, but 30 and 60 days, well, it does not are the full reason, I believe, for the relative slowness. And you must admit that while software being released every 2 weeks, like with an agile development, the blueprints are still in a waterfall-driven model, yes, and we have to close the gap somehow. And to me, I believe it's only possible if we can generate more, yeah. So, who is behind this? Who is currently paying the money? It's the community we called COSM, the community of ODF standard maintainers, and the TDF give the seeds funding, but Microsoft, Allotropia, SIP, Collabora, Open Exchange, and Google are corporate sponsors of it. And also from institution, the United Kingdoms via TDF, and the Standard ICT project, which funded me as well, about people who work on open standards and being funded there. And this is very important, and those of you who are not yet, let's do first the status. So 1 of 3 is successfully funded, 1 of 4 is, it's approved at least, and 1 of 5 still needs funding, and we are started with 1 of 5, yes? So what I wanted to say earlier is now, if you are a sponsor, keep it. If you're not yet a sponsor, please become one, because we really need more or continuous work on that. And I'm not being paid for working with ODF, but Patrick and Francis are really doing work. And you know, like open source, there is work going on, there is maintenance going on, and they have families and work, and so it has to be paid somewhere. And even better, you might want to delegate someone who joins it, and we need like every specialist, right, to be part of us. All right. Like, if you got an open standard, if you want to promote open standard, that's a good way to do it. a little bit of this generation I talked about. Parts of it are already generated. Like you see here, parts that's coming from the grammar, and you see that the URL is generated similar to the form property that's being there. For instance, also the default values on the spec with the character style, we extracted with from XLT, so we have a list of all the default values. And I think this should be done more, and this is one of the goals I'm striving for. Just for the basics of ODF, it's a zip file. You can rename it to zip and can extract it any time given. And within our side of pictures, mostly XML, the context XML, the styles XML, the most important parts, but also meta settings are there. And we divided the specification according to the different parts. So the first part is just the info. We might change the part numbers, but the second part is the package zip. We had the idea that PDF might reuse it. EPUB was reusing it for ODF 1.1, but unfortunately miscommunication. They choose their own signature encryption for ODF 1.2, but they're very much similar to that. And XML, of course, the largest part in 3 is explaining how the syntax there. So what we are missing is the primer, something that explains a newcomer to software how the ODF looks like. For instance, how is a sub-document? If you insert a chart into a spreadsheet, how does it look like? It's a directory with a MIME type, right? And such things are still missing, and we need time for it. Something very important, I think, if you have one thing, what I learned here, take with it is this, it's about the difference between syntax and semantic. It's very important because all the API you're working on, all we talk about is semantic, right? And the syntax is like when you go in a restaurant with a digital group, then every one of us gets a menu card, and it has its own language there, vino, wine, wine, yes. So, but there's just one bottle on the table, one reality, but the labels are different, the syntax are different. In the end, this does not matter so much as long it's being mappable, right? So you can think of a file format like a glass with a liquid. The data can be stored in. Some glasses are smaller, some are bigger. So what we should not have is data loss, and we should have an automatic mapping between this syntaxes and the semantic. And what we are missing yet is we have not defined the semantic yet, right? We have just the syntax. And we need some reverse engineering, like the funny thing, the invoice standard has 2 XML syntax. It's just like if there would be a European Office standard with 2 XML saying OXML and ODF are both the European Office format. And then we would have to map it like they do it. But it helps a lot to abstract from these implementation details. So, why it's so important? Because this is how we can have puzzles, how we can eat the elephant, to cut this complexities into features, something we can talk about, and we can define things, like a table, paragraph, image, and a character can be a feature. And this is what all the users know, and there's even more, something that is still missing, because a table, a user would like to add in an insert in a row or a column, right? So there are user actions, changes that we are not aware of. And if we would do that, then we would have changes, and we would get away from this final state to something that is defining changes for change tracking, because change tracking becomes most easiest when you define what a change earlier is. Like, I just sent you insert column on this table, number 3, and not all the XML changes, not the noise. We have to go to the semantic level. When we talk to another human, of course, I tell you, there's look into this document. There's a table, there's a paragraph, and there's an image, and then there's a paragraph, and then the second character, there's a typo. Remove it. All right. So we are communicating on this abstraction, and the nice thing, if we would imagine we would define changes and we would generate these things, then we would have something like an ODF API. And this is absolutely missing, because all the browsers, the internet works because all the browsers have the same JavaScript API, a DOM API, which is based on syntax. But think about it, if we have an API that is based on semantics, then they have acid tests. So you you have a test that just drops the document into a test suite, and it says how much conformity to the standard. Because nowadays, you can only load and save it, it's still there. But now, if we have changes, you can say, load the document with a table, insert a column, and see if if the new column really exists. Yes. So, but as long we have not defined the blueprint, yes, we cannot check it. We cannot validate it. And this is so, and yeah, it's such a lack, and it's incredible. It's like Firefox and all the browsers will still exist without a common API for JavaScript, and we have these macros which are totally non-conformant, very low to syntax. Okay, so that's basically my fast track. Thank you for listening, and I hope I could give you a picture of what is missing and what I learned in the past. Thank you very much.